Hey guys, it's Stacy with Chapter 6 and I'm here with another requested review. Originally this book was only requested to me by 2 people, but then after you guys seen that it was in one of my to be read piles for one of the months, I don't remember, a lot of you have been requesting that I hurry up and get to this book review. Here it finally is, my review over Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I loved this book. Originally this review was requested to me from Lolly Girl, which she has her own channel. I will link it down below. Gulena Loves. I'm sorry if I butchered that. This book is 40 pages shy of being a 1,000-page book. So I was very scared of the thickness of this book. I thought it would take me the entire month to read it, but it took me no time to get through this. That's how good it was. I mean, I think I read this in like a week and a half, like no time at all considering how big the book is. In case you don't know what Gone with the Wind is about, it follows a Southern girl named Scarlett O'Hara, pre-Civil War time. That's when the book starts off, and then it follows her life through the World War and after the war and all the sufferings and changes she has to make to her life because of the war and because of living in the South. And then during this time, Charlotte meets the flashing, daring Rhett Butler. Do you see the eyebrows go up? So let's just talk a little bit about Margaret Mitchell and how she came about writing this story. I'm not sure for word on this story, but apparently what happened, Margaret Mitchell in some way, shape, or form had broken her ankle and had to spend the entire summer in bed while it mended, and while she was in bed waiting for her ankle to heal, she then wrote Gone with the Wind. I mean, come on. She wasn't a writer before that. She just happened to break her ankle and was like, hey, while I'm sitting in bed this entire time, I'll write a book. I don't wish harm on anybody, but thank God Margaret Mitchell broke her ankle during that time period, or we would not have this wonderful piece of literature right here, people. Margaret Mitchell actually refused to write a sequel to this. She said, I'm done with the story. It is what it is. I'm not going to write a sequel, because everyone kept asking her to. But somebody else wrote a sequel, and it's called Scarlett, and my lab partner said that Scarlett was her favorite book of all time. She said it was beautifully written and the best romance ever. But to get to that book, I had to get through Gone with the Wind first. And that was my original mission. But I kind of feel like since Margaret Mitchell didn't want to have a sequel to the story, that I feel like now I shouldn't read it. The warning out at the very beginning of the review so we can move on. This is set in the South and the Civil War times. That means that there is a lot of racist stuff in here. The N-word is used a lot. She does not hold back with the N-word at all. And also, the slaves in this story are not portrayed in the best light. Like, a lot of them speak broken language. It's hard to understand it. And depending on where the slave was born and raised and stuff like that, different slaves would have different broken English, which I thought was a very interesting thing for her to pay attention to, not just to give all the people, all the African Americans in the story the same broken language. She made every slave have their own unique broken style of English, which I thought was interesting, but it may be insulting to some people. I'm sure everyone will assume that stuff like that is in this book, but just in case, to let you know for sure, without a doubt, it is in there. But moving on, I love this book. Scarlett O'Hara, I just love her, even though she is selfish and she is all over the place and she's crazy and she only cares about herself, and I usually don't like characters or people who act like that, and I think Scarlett O'Hara is a widely hated character. Like, people love to hate her, but I loved her. I thought she was funny. I thought it was a very interesting perspective to have all these life-changing and life-threatening things going on around you, and the only thing that you care about is if you're wearing the newest designer dress. I mean, seriously, how shallow can a person be? But I love that about her. I love that how she could get through things by not thinking about it and not focusing on it, and that's kind of how she coped and survived. Rhett Butler. Need I say more, ladies? Rhett Butler is the coolest, hottest guy character ever invented. I'm just going to say that now. Just going to put it out there right now. Back then, when you're supposed to be all prim and proper, he's scandalous, and he's even scandalous kind of by today's terms, and sometimes he's just such a bad boy, but he's such a hero too. I just love him. I love his character. I love both of them, and together they're just like, wow. So there was a lot of little things in this that kind of really struck a chord with me. Dylan's aunt on his father's side is married to a Southern gentleman. Some of these characters reminded me of him so much. Like, he's still got his Southern gentleman charms. Having him kind of help clear get me a clearer picture of the accents in this book. And also, for those of you who do not live in the southern states of America, let me tell you this right now. Their dirt really is red. From Ohio, where everything's like black-brown dirt. I don't know how the dirt is where you live, and I know it's a really weird subject to talk on, but they talk about the land and the color of the land so much in this story that some people who haven't been to that part of the United States, it might be hard to picture dirt actually being red, but I kid you not, it is a brick bright red down there, and it's very interesting, and it gives such a beautiful color to the land. I kind of had the same feeling that I did when I was reading The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak as I did with this. That not all Southerners partook in slavery, and a lot of them actually did fight it. And so it kind of opened my eyes and kind of made me brush away some prejudice that I had about the South. I really like books that remind me that blame the whole culture of group of people just for the majority of them making mistakes. Not all of them are always in on it. It also has my favorite quote in it from Rhett, what he says to Scarlett when he says that she needs to be kissed and somebody who knows how to do it right. I think that's so funny, so scandalous for the time period. And I really like Scarlett's development. There's 3 major parts in the book to where she realizes how big the situation is and how much bigger it is than her and her little wants and needs. Scarlett's fairly young when the book starts out, and it's got love, it's got war, it's got all kinds of stuff in it. And I feel like that this was what a YA book that we know and love today was back then. So it's like a classic YA book. You get all the things that you love about a classic book, the history, the great storytelling, and just the feeling of you're reading something that's not shallow, with all the things that you love about a YA book, the excitement, the youth, the not always knowing what you're doing but just going with your gut. I just loved it. I think it's a perfect blend of a classic and a YA book. So I highly recommend this book. Don't let the thickness of it scare you away. This is the first time that I've ever reviewed a book where I feel like I'm not doing it justice, and I don't feel like there's anything else more I can do to do it justice, because I feel like I basically just talked about my southern friend and red dirt. But I absolutely love the story, the plot, the characters, all the characters, the setting. Her writing is all amazing. Margaret Mitchell back in the day did an interview where she was asked what Gone with the Wind was about. She answered that it was about people at a time before, people who lose everything and the people who rise up to be survivors. And she said that the survivors would call this ability gumption. So she wrote about people who had gumption, and I thought that was really cute that she said that. So yeah, a must read. I think everyone will really enjoy it. And yeah, this is Stacy with Chapter Chicks, and this review was for you. Bye guys.